This next episode of Overlooked History is about world traveler Ida Pfeiffer. Ida Pfeiffer was born in Vienna on October 14, 1797. Her father was a wealthy merchant, and she had several brothers. She was also raised by her father. Because of being around so many boys, she later said that she was wild as a boy and bolder and more forward than my elder brothers. She also wished to see the world. Ida's father died in 1806 when Ida was 9, and afterwards she was raised by her mother. Her mother tried, and failed at first, to make her more ladylike. It took almost 5 years before Ida wore women's clothing. She also had many suitors, but turned them all down. In 1919, she met Dr. Pfeiffer, a lawyer, and 5 weeks later they were engaged. The new Mrs. Pfeiffer was ecstatic when they traveled for their honeymoon. They had 3 children, but one passed away as an infant. Ida and the children lived in Vienna, while her husband lived in Lemberg, to be closer to a son from a previous marriage. After her 2 remaining children were grown, she was left alone with nothing to do. At the age of 45, she decided she would travel the world. She told everyone she was going to visit a friend in Constantinople, when she was really going to travel to the Holy Land and Egypt. During her trip, she kept a diary, and her notes became a successful book in 1843. Using funds from this book, she began to prepare for a trip to Scandinavia. She learned English and Danish, and learned how to take photographs. Her journey lasted 6 months, and brought her to Sweden, Iceland, and Germany. After briefly returning to Vienna, she next sailed to Rio de Janeiro on board a Danish ship. In Brazil, she traveled through the jungles, and was attacked by a runaway slave. After returning to Rio, she traveled south around the southern tip of South America, and sailed off into the Pacific. The ship she was traveling on brought her to Tahiti, and she met the island's queen. From Tahiti, she sailed to China, visiting Hong Kong and Canton. She evidently did not feel welcome in China, so she sailed to Singapore and Sri Lanka, then called Ceylon. She then traveled north to India, visiting ancient ruins and participating in tiger hunts. After the excitement of India, she traversed the Middle East, before finally actually going to Constantinople. She returned to Vienna in 1848, and her book about this very journey was published in 1850. After that, she settled down and retired from traveling. While reminiscing about her travels in Vienna, she decided to travel the globe again. Setting off in 1851, she visited London and South Africa. She traveled through Africa's interior before setting off for Australia. She visited Borneo and encountered headhunters. Not only did they spare her, they were described as acting very cordial. She had planned on traveling further into the island's interior, past where any European had ever been, but she could not find a guide willing to travel that far. After fleeing from spear-wielding cannibals near Sumatra, she visited Java. On September 27, 1853, she arrived in San Francisco. She next traveled south through Panama to Peru, hoping to visit the Amazon. Unfortunately, no Peruvian guides were willing to help, so she returned to Panama and set sail for New Orleans. She visited St. Louis, Minnesota, Chicago, Niagara Falls, New York, and Boston. From New England, Pfeiffer sailed to England, and briefly stopped in the Azores. In May of 1855, she returned to Vienna again. She had collected many biological specimens and artifacts from her journeys, some of which were given to the British Museum. She passed away in 1858, having become a celebrity. Ida Pfeiffer traveled the globe twice, in an era when it was considered unladylike. Thank you.